you supposed to be, a clown or something?
Sometimes.
I wish the rain would stop just once.
Can't rain all the time.
Eric?
Before the world knew of the Batman in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight movies, or the tormented anti-heroes of Ghost Rider, Spawn, or even Blade in the late 90s, there was The Crow. The film was released in the year 1984 and it broke every rule that comic book movies followed at the time. It was one of those rare films that didn't just adapt an indie comic book, it also redefined what a comic book movie could be. Superhero stories on the big screen showed lots of bright colors, very campy villains, and the hero of the movie always did the right thing because they were good. While there is nothing wrong with superheroes doing the right thing, The Crow, I believe, was one of the first films that introduced the world to what an anti-hero can be. An anti-hero is a person that isn't evil, but is also neither a good person. They don't follow the traditional rules of what a hero is. They have their own moral code they followed. The Crow 1994 showed that superhero stories can be dark, poetic, and emotionally raw. Today, we'll be discussing how The Crow 1984 paved the way for more dark comic book movies after its initial release. Eric Draven, played by the late Brandon Lee, was going to marry his fiancée Shelley on Halloween night, but things didn't go as planned as they both hoped. On the night before their wedding, the couple was brutally murdered by a gang in the city where crime never truly stopped. A year later after their death, Eric was resurrected by a supernatural crow. It returned him from the grave with one purpose, and that purpose was to avenge his and Shelley's deaths and to bring justice to those who destroyed both of their lives. Before Eric was murdered, he was a kind, passionate man who deeply loved his fiancée Shelley. He believed in love and beauty, even if Shelley and him were living in a dark city. After he was resurrected by the Crow, that warmth was gone. He became a vessel for vengeance, driven by supernatural instinct for those responsible. Eric wasn't 100% just a vessel for vengeance and justice, though. There was still a bit of humanity left inside him. For example, him checking in on Sarah throughout the film before he eventually was gone again. Him helping Sarah's mom overcome her addictions to drugs and also petting his own cat. Little gestures like these shows that the Eric Draven who was murdered was still living inside the resurrected version of him. The Crow grants him powers of invulnerability, enhanced reflexes, and a psychic connection to people's suffering. Eric was basically invincible and couldn't be stopped. The powers granted to him, though, were also a burden. His strength came from his trauma, and if the Crow or his emotional connection to Shelley was weakened, so was he. It was a constant reminder that his power was born of tragedy, not fortune. When Eric rose from the grave, he couldn't feel any physical pain, and he walked through the world like a ghost among the living. In his interactions, he was quiet, eerie, and pretty much emotionally distant. Even when he speaks to people who help him, like Sarah, there's this sense that he's not meant to stay. He was caught between life and death, existing only to finish what he started. Eric Draven wasn't a traditional hero. He was resurrected to kill. But what made him resonate was his humanity. He avenged not out of power, but love. He was a man still mourning the woman he loved. This concept, the flawed, grief-driven hero, became a defining trait for modern anti-heroes like Spawn and even Deadpool. The Crow showed that imperfection could make a hero more real, not less. Before The Crow in 1994, most movies used vibrant colors and didn't really focus on making the setting of a movie shadowy or very dark. Batman 1989 is considered by many as the first dark comic book movie. With this movie's success, they gave The Crow 1984 a chance to shine on the big screen, and it did pretty well for itself. The grim aesthetic look would later define Blade, Spawn, and even the Dark Knight trilogy. Filmmakers realized audiences were drawn to these grounded type of worlds and characters, and so more movies were created after. The last and most important reason how The Crow paved the way for more dark comic book movies was from its own origin story. Instead of a radioactive spider or an alien planet, The Crow rooted its origin story in tragedy and loss. Eric's resurrection wasn't a gift, it was a curse to unfinished pain. The tragic rebirth formula was carried on to movies like Blade and Ghost Rider. It changed how the audience viewed transformation. The Crow 1994 wasn't just a story about revenge. It was also a story about grief, love, and the pain of holding on after death. Through Eric Draven, audiences saw a hero born from heartbreak, not heroism. His resurrection blurred the line between life and death, including justice and vengeance. In doing so, The Crow redefined what a comic book movie could be. It proved that darkness could have depth and that violence can carry meaning. 3 decades later, Eric Draven's character traits still lingers on other anti-heroes. It's a reminder that real heroes aren't always the ones who save the world, but the ones who also rise from it.